Hey indie game fans! For as popular as some of the mega hits in the roguelite genre have been, there are some which are criminally underrated, so my top 10 picks starts with DEATHSTATE ABYSSAL Edition, which is a pixel art bullet hell dungeon crawler that throws a ton of enemies at you. Discover what happened to Professor Ellenberg as you master the secret of deep astral projection, reaching the eponymous death state that allows you to explore cosmic realms. What is not obvious is that this game actually auto-targets and fires for you, so you just really need to focus on movement, dodging, and using your special abilities. It looks great, feels really good, but maybe on the easier side of things. Plenty of unlockable items and characters flesh out the experience. I Am Overburdened is a simplified turn-based roguelike, which, rather than throwing massive amounts of enemies, equipment, skills, spells, leveling up and other factors at you, boils it down to equipment and stats. You attack enemies by simply walking into them, with dice rolls determining damage and hit percentage. The 20 equipment slots are the highlight here, with powerful artifacts being the main draw, but this game simplifies things just enough to keep it very accessible. Runs are relatively short and fast-paced, really nailing that one more run feel, and it has a sense of light-heartedness and humor, which I do quite like. Plunge is a roguelike puzzle game where your character controls as if it was a sliding ice puzzle found in games, moving to the furthest tile in the direction that you press before being stopped by an obstacle or enemy. Gorgeous art style, fun variety in the characters, and interesting boss fights in this. NONGÜNZ is a super strange one since it has a ludicrously high detail pixel art world, but of the games on this list is perhaps the most impenetrable one, since the game does not explain anything to you. There are unlockable skulls and weapons, idle game elements, utility cards which can be consumed, your very own death cult, horrific bosses and enemies, and even a very meta element to it. However, most of this is obscured, and it does take some fiddling around to get at the fun in this, so if you are in for an experience that will take a little bit of work on your part, this one is pretty fascinating. Sword of the Stars, The Pit is the oldest title on this list and is a spin-off of the 4X strategy game of the same name. However, this is a turn-based roguelike that has you delving into the pit, an alien facility dug deep into the mountains to seek out a cure for a deadly plague. In contrast with some of the other titles that I've mentioned before, this is a roguelike true and true, with different character classes, leveling up and upgrades, character skills, equipment, crafting, status effects, and more. I quite like the sci-fi setting, a nice change of pace from your dungeon mans, ancient domains of mystery, and net hacks of the world. But one thing to note is that the core game only has 3 classes, but DLC expands upon that, adding more enemies and items as well, with enough new content to justify the DLC price. But I would say try out the base game first. Pretty great, one of these that I don't see mentioned enough, so I thought that I would give it a little bit of a shout out. Just a quick note, if you are new here and enjoyed the video so far, be sure to subscribe and check out the Discord channel while you are at it. Here's to more indie gaming coverage, so back to the video. Developer Greg Lobanov is now perhaps best known for the delightful Wonder Song, but a couple of years prior to that was CRYPT, a pretty unique roguelite deck builder where it is all about coins. Playing as a lootmancer, use these coins in magical duels as you explore this mysterious island. The most interesting part of this is that the coins that you play are expended and permanently disappear from your hand, but you are able to steal them from enemies as well. Enemies also start with a fixed number of coins, and if you defeat them in a timely fashion, whatever unspent will be awarded to you as loot, giving it a very dynamic feel. Pretty adorable art style, with the main progression being character unlocks, of which there are 19 in the base game. Before Slay the Spire came along and ate everybody's lunch in the roguelite card game subgenre, there was Card Quest, a dungeon crawling experience where the main plot is fixed but the levels randomized take your hero through these bespoke adventures. There are plenty of progression elements, from unlocking weapons and armor, which changes the cards in your deck, to both in-run leveling up as well as meta progression. Each of the 4 classes in Rogue, Warrior, Wizard and Hunter have 3 custom specializations as well, adding even more variety and choice. This game is also all about the combos and chains, which are so very satisfying to pull off, and there are cards that can let you recover energy and draw even more cards and so on. I'll admit that it doesn't look the greatest, and the name is really generic and forgettable, but the gameplay systems are really solid and well worth a play. When you talk about innovations in controls, several games come to mind, such as Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and TUMBLESEED is another one of these, which made me work my brain in a unique way. You control the left and right ends of a beam on which the seed rolls around on, and it is about precision and control, much more than any platformer that you may have come across. It is a little bit fiddly and takes some time to get used to, but when it does click, you are in for a treat. There are multiple seed variants, allowing you to attack enemies, all tied into a crystal resource that requires you to activate plots of soil on the ground. Your objective is to tumble your way up a mountain to plant the seed there to save the world, and this wins points for how it managed to translate an HO physical puzzle into the roguelite format. On release, it was really difficult and has since been balanced, so if you bounced off it initially, this is worth a play. Roguelike puzzle games are increasingly becoming a favourite of mine, and FIDEL Dungeon Rescue is a highlight. Playing as a line puzzle game where you have to draw a continuous line from start to finish without crossing your own line, it seems contradictory how a puzzle game and procedural generation can work, but magically it does. Loads of variations and awesome music round off this package.
Right, we're approaching the site of the new outer space holiday camp to make repairs, so I'll guide the spaceship down to the surface and you just kill. Right, we're definitely gonna kill. Oh, hello, look at this bunch of rascals.
First of all, a huge shout out to the guys on the Spelunky Show-like, a game development podcast about roguelike and roguelite games. Since they took my question for a Q&A, and pointed me in the direction of Loot Rascals. While it might not look like it, this is turn-based through and through, with very simplified mechanics and math laid bare, but don't be fooled by the cutesy look. This is very challenging with very little meta progression to brute force your way through. Explore a mysterious alien planet in hopes of escape, where there is a giant, tentacled, pan-dimensional beast behind all this madness. There is an interesting equipment system where you equip and arrange cards on the grid, and where day and night affects who gets initiative in battle. This is very polished with great cutscenes and voice acting, so the whimsy plus the design gives it the #1 spot. For more of the best indie games, do check out the previous video or click on the recommended playlist, and I will see you after the jump.